Welcome to Skytech-Lens. The Tyson Foods plant was more than a workplace. It was the heart of towns like Perry, Iowa, and Knoll, Missouri. For decades, families built their lives around the factory, relying on steady jobs and a sense of community. When Tyson announced closures, it felt like a betrayal. Thousands lost not just jobs, but their identity and security. In Perry, nearly 1,300 jobs vanished, erasing 20% of the town's income and threatening local businesses and schools. The closures triggered a domino effect: empty storefronts, declining school enrollment, and a sense of abandonment. Local leaders now scramble to attract new investment and support displaced residents. The question remains: what happens to a town when its main reason for being disappears overnight? Tyson's closures weren't random. They were driven by economic forces and corporate strategy. Drought and high feed costs shrank cattle herds, driving up prices and slashing profits. Tyson responded by consolidating operations and investing in automation, replacing jobs with machines to cut costs. The company's strategy: close older, less efficient plants to stay competitive globally. For executives, it was a logical move. For workers, it meant lost livelihoods and broken trust. Automation and high costs created a perfect storm, with rural towns caught in the crossfire. The drive for efficiency left thousands questioning their future. New tariffs in 2025, meant to protect American jobs, had the opposite effect for Tyson. Steel and packaging costs soared, making it more expensive to operate U.S. plants. Instead of reinvesting, Tyson found it cheaper to close facilities and shift production elsewhere. The tariffs, intended to help, ended up punishing American workers and accelerating job losses. History repeated itself. Protectionist policies led to higher costs and fewer jobs. For Tyson, tariffs became another reason to shut down plants, turning job-saving measures into job killers. The fallout rippled through communities already on the brink. Plant closures hit like an earthquake: sudden, devastating, and deeply personal. Workers lost not just paychecks, but a sense of purpose and belonging. Many had skills tied to meatpacking, with few options in rural job markets. Community groups rushed to help, but retraining and new careers take time. The psychological toll was immense: stress, strained families, and rising social problems. In towns like Perry, many workers were immigrants and refugees, now facing even greater uncertainty. Navigating unemployment and a new country made the loss even harder. The closures left entire communities struggling to find hope. Perry, Iowa, lost its economic cornerstone when Tyson closed its plant. Nearly 1,300 jobs disappeared in a town of 7,500, devastating local businesses and schools. Community groups mobilized, but the scale of loss was overwhelming. Hardware stores and restaurants shuttered, and families began to leave. The school district braced for declining enrollment as the town's future grew uncertain. Yet, Perry's resilience showed in neighbors helping neighbors and food pantries working overtime. Still, the loss marked a fundamental shift. One decision in a distant boardroom reshaped an entire community. Perry became a stark example of the risks of relying on a single employer. Perry's story echoed in towns like Knoll and Dexter, Missouri. In Knoll, the Tyson plant's closure wiped out nearly the entire local economy, triggering an exodus and gutting city finances. Businesses closed, tax revenue vanished, and the community hollowed out. Dexter faced similar devastation. Restaurants lost half their revenue, and crime rose as families struggled. The closures frayed the social fabric, leaving towns as shadows of their former selves. Residents felt betrayed by a company they once trusted. Many faced the painful choice: uproot their lives or stay in a town with no future. These stories became symbols of the collateral damage from corporate decisions and shifting policies. Across rural America, the pattern of economic devastation repeated. The closures hit more than workers. Local farmers lost their only buyer overnight, left with debts and empty barns. School districts suffered as families moved away, forcing cuts to programs and staff. Cafeterias faced higher food costs, shrinking portions for students who relied on school meals. Small businesses collapsed, leaving main streets lined with empty storefronts. Social services were overwhelmed as food banks struggled to meet soaring demand. The closures dismantled entire local economies, showing how deeply communities depend on a single company. The ripple effects touched every corner of daily life. As U.S. towns suffered, Tyson expanded abroad, building new plants in Thailand, China, and the Netherlands. The company shifted resources to states with lower wages and weaker unions, further cutting costs. Financially, the strategy worked. Profits rose, and executives thrived. CEO Donnie King reported strong sales and dismissed tariff impacts, while local communities struggled. Tyson received billions in subsidies and spent millions lobbying for weaker regulations. For many, it was a case of privatized profits and socialized losses. The company's gains came at the expense of American workers and taxpayers. The contrast between boardroom success and local pain was stark. Tyson's closures reveal how national policies reshape real lives. Tariffs meant to protect jobs instead fueled layoffs and higher food prices. Workers and towns bore the brunt, while executives and shareholders prospered. The burden of economic change fell hardest on those with the least power. Empty storefronts and overwhelmed food banks became the true cost of policy decisions. The saga of Tyson is a cautionary tale. Economic choices have human consequences. As debates continue, the stories of Perry, Noel, and Dexter remind us of the responsibility leaders have to the communities they affect. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates.